We are going to start by logging into our code.org accounts today. And like I said, I want to introduce this idea of something that we call Web Lab. Web Lab, again, is where we are going to be looking at and where we are going to be doing all of our work on our website. So I'm just going to go ahead and log in. Again, this is my student account. And it will be right here, Lesson 2, Intro to HTML. So that is what you should be looking at, all right? Lesson overview, you are welcome to take a look at if you choose to. One thing I want to say about working in code.org, your introductory lesson, lesson 1, is always going to have any vocabulary and any new code listed. So please do keep that in mind. It is a great resource for you to have. When you are done with any one page in your code.org, at the bottom, we have these orange buttons. Sometimes they might say continue, sometimes they say submit. Please make sure that you always click that button, okay? So again, we are going to introduce Web Lab today. So if you are in lesson 2, bubble number 2, this is Web Lab. So welcome to Web Lab. This platform is where we will be doing all of our coding for HTML. And again, and I'm just going to go ahead and kind of reset this for myself because I had done this earlier. Web Lab has 4 main areas. The top part up here is always your instructions. This top portion is always going to tell you exactly what it is that you need to do. So once you read your instructions, you can always collapse your instructions by next to the word instructions. There is a little an up caret, and that'll give you more work space to work with. Some people prefer to have the instructions visible, others don't. That is a personal choice thing. There are 3 main areas to Web Lab, and you can see them right here. Over here are our files, okay? In the center is our workspace. Our workspace is where we are going to be doing all of our work. And then over here on the far right-hand side is the preview area. And that is where it's going to show us kind of like what it looks like. So when you go in and do this, you are literally going to type anything that you want. So I'm going to say, I have a dog. I like to cook. I kickbox. Okay. These are all things that are true about me. All right, so once I do that, I can, right here in the instructions, press refresh and save to see it in the preview area. Over here is the refresh and save button. There's an inspector button. We'll get into that later. So I want to point something out. What are you noticing about what I typed and how it shows up? Anybody? How did I type this and how did it show up?
It makes us a sentence.
Right, exactly. So I typed 3 separate sentences, but it didn't show up like that. Do you remember when we were talking about content and structure? All the content is there. I have a dog. I like to cook. I kickbox. All of my content is there, but the structure is not correct. And what we are going to be learning in this unit is how to make the structure work so that it works for our particular website. All right, so introduction to Web Lab, again. Things you should be thinking about. What are the different parts of Web Labs and what are they used for? This is like 2 minutes, guys.
My name is Milani. I'm a curriculum development intern here at code.org, and I'm also a computer science student at Cascadia College. I always liked the fact that I can make whatever I want with computer science. I've been able to make really cool websites that are about topics I'm really passionate about, and I just really enjoy that there's so many different ways to express myself through such an outlet. Websites are everywhere, and they're the primary way many people get their news, keep up with friends' activities, learn new information, and share the details of their lives. Right now, you might be a consumer of websites created by others, but you're about to learn how to be a website creator with the power to make and share something brand new with the entire world. To do this, you'll be using WebLab, a unique tool that allows you to create your own websites with many of the same capabilities as a professional web developer. The instructions section includes directions for the project you're currently working on. When you're ready, you can collapse the instructions and shrink the size. Below the instructions, WebLab has a list of files and images that will appear on the website. Just like a news website has different pages for the front page, the arts and entertainment page, and the science page, your website will eventually have multiple pages based on files stored here. To edit a web page, you'll need to navigate to the right file name that corresponds to that page. Every project starts with a single index.html file, which is the main page of your website. When you click on the index.html file, it pulls up the contents of the file over here in the workspace. The workspace is where you develop your website. You can start by typing anything in the workspace. Let's put a title at the top of our page, followed by a paragraph about our page. As you type, you may see some of your changes appear automatically in the preview area. Some kinds of changes will not appear automatically. If your change doesn't appear immediately, just click the refresh button above the preview area to update the preview. You'll notice that all the content on your web page gets lumped together, which is not what we want. But stay tuned. You'll soon learn ways to better control how your content appears.
All right, so more or less, she just kind of went through what I talked about. Again, we are talking about the difference between our content, the stuff that we are creating, and the structure, how it appears on the web page. So at this time, ladies and gentlemen, if I hit continue, now I am up here on bubble 4. All right, so we are now going to look at the inspector tool, okay? And again, you'll have an opportunity to do this on your own. I just like to walk through it and make sure everybody knows how to do it. How to use the inspector tool. So right here in your instructions, you are always going to have, or not always, but a lot of times you will have a frequently asked questions. How do I use the inspector tool? If you click on it, it will give you further directions, okay? You may want to use it, you may not want to use it. That is entirely up to you. Also, next to instructions, a lot of times you will have help and tips. If you go to help and tips, it will kind of take you to some information that may be helpful to you. All right, so do this. Again, instructions. Click the tip. How do I use the inspector tool? We already did that. On the right, to learn how to use the inspector tool, you will be able to read that on your own. Follow the instructions on the web page to explore the web page and discuss with the partner how it is working. We are probably not going to do the partner part today, but that is all right. If I go to so now if I'm noticing, and I'm just going to collapse my instructions. So you'll notice this web page isn't all lumped together like mine was when I said I like my dog and I like to cook and I like to kickbox. This has different sizes, different sections. So my question is, how did they do that? If I go onto my inspector tool and I hover over any part of this web page, if you'll notice over here in the workspace, it doesn't just say welcome to WebLab. There are these little things on either side of it. It says H1 with like some alligator symbols, and then an H1 with a slash, okay? And then this is like a different size, and it still has that H, but now instead of saying H1, it says H2. And then I have this whole separate paragraph, and now all of this content is between these little P tags, right? So as I go through this, I am starting to see how this structure is created. Those little tags on the front and end of my content are what is creating this structure. So those things stuck between those greater than, less than symbols are somehow creating this structure for me. I even have a bulleted list here. So I have headings, I have paragraphs, I have a bulleted list. Again, go through your web lab, play with this as much as you want, and then when you're done, make sure you hit finish on the bottom. Now, at this time, and I'm just going to kind of stop